Hello, everybody. My name is Spencer Walsh. Welcome to another primary night show. We're changing things up a little bit today. We got James Stanley coming on shortly, though. We'll give you a full swing around of what's happening as we are watching results in Arizona, Kansas, Michigan, Missouri, and Washington. So thank you so much for joining us here. We start off with Chris Kobach. Establishment Republicans worry that if he, a polarizing figure in Kansas, wins the nomination, Democrats could capture the seat and perhaps gain control of the Senate. Because of it, right now, Roger Marshall is leading 37.6 to 25.2 with 193,000 votes in at this very moment in time. Chris Kobach at 25.2 in a second place. Pretty big second place behind Bob Hamilton. The HVAC mogul, Rashida Tlaib, on pace to win with just 1% reporting her primary against Brenda Jones. And with less than 1% reporting, William Lacey Clay is up 60.3 to 34.1 on Cori Bush. Over in Missouri, with 23% reporting, yes is in the lead in the Missouri Medicaid Expansion Amendment, 51.8 to 48.2, which is expected to be a very close and very influential race. So we're going to be keeping an eye on that throughout the night as well. Also in the Arizona 6th Congressional District Democratic primary, Democrats increasingly are seeing the suburban district as a pickup opportunity in November. As the GOP incumbent David Schweikert was cited last week for violating 11 House ethics rules. In the Kansas 2nd Congressional primary, Steve Watkins, the incumbent, was charged with felonies related to voter fraud. And right now, Jake LaTurner is the leading candidate to replace him. Also in Washington, we are watching in a kind of Mondaire Jones-style race. We have an interesting one between Beth Doglio, that's coming in later tonight in a very crowded 10th District Congressional primary, where, of course, all parties run at the same time. So, oh yeah, and in terms of prosecutor races, I should also say we will be watching some pretty interesting prosecutorial races as well, including one in Maricopa County. That's also very interesting. We also have one in St. Louis. Kim Gardner, the first-term incumbent, has sustained fire from the police union for 4 years, facing a rematch. And, of course, the Dem primary here should decide the winner. And, of course, that Missouri race, especially in the wake of Wesley Bell winning in 2018 in the Ferguson race, should be very, very interesting to watch. And it'll be interesting to see how much they've been able to get people out. But yeah, so, all right, let's take a look here at what we've seen here. Just see if we can get the prosecutorial results up for that in the very near future. But yeah, those are the big races we are watching. William Lacey Clay and Cori Bush and Rashida Tlaib, who we believe has already won. It's been called in some places, but not officially by the New York Times yet. So, yeah, we're watching that as well. So, Rashida Tlaib now with 1% reporting up 66.3 to 33.7, 6,000 to 3,000 votes. Yeah, so a pretty big deal there. Let's take a look at what's going on right now as we look, starting with the Kansas U.S. Senate primary. As establishment Republicans worry that if Chris Kobach, a polarizing figure in Kansas, wins the nomination, Democrats could capture the seat and perhaps gain control of the Senate. So that's what they're most worried about. And a Chris Kobach loss would be pretty disheartening for the Democrats, who poured millions into a super PAC to boost Kobach, they believe they pretty much tried to prop him up because they thought it would be easier to beat him in the general election. Of course, he ran a Senate campaign last year, or last time around in 2018, that was pretty much doomed. He was a very, very unpopular, very, very incompetent campaign running style. And now, much to Mitch McConnell and other Republicans, where he's back again. Peter Thiel also put a lot of money, nearly $1 million, into a pro-Kobach super PAC this summer. Again, so yeah, we're also waiting on James Stanley to come join us. We will be hopefully able to have him on the air soon. We'll just give him another ring and see how he's doing. A theme of election nights is always obviously waiting for James Stanley. But I think we are really looking for is some of these results that we see from I think primarily Missouri's first is what progressives are probably most focused about tonight, but also just checking in on Rashida, which looks like she has a pretty good handle on things at this moment in time. So, yeah, let's talk about some of the races here. Probably the Missouri first is one that I really think is very, very interesting. And we talked about this, and I do want to give you a great preview here about it from The Intercept. And, of course, we're seeing Cori Bush going against William Lacey Clay. He and his father have held that seat he and his father have held that seat for up to 50 years, which is really pretty insane. And it looks like, again, according to the elections, another projection, the election center, Rashid Tlaib, she has won her primary pretty much by, I mean, I haven't seen any real official accounts. AP hasn't officially called it yet, but most people are saying Rashid Tlaib is going to win again in Michigan's 13th. If you remember, in the 2018, we saw that she had a primary against Brenda Jones. The first one she won, she was running to replace John Conyers, who resigned of sexual harassment allegations, a big Black Caucus guy. So she got pretty popular district. She won. She lost by 9,000 votes for the special election, ran again at the general election, won by 900 votes, and then won again, I think, by like 1,000 votes. So there's two margins. One, she lost by 1,000. Two, she won by around 1,000 votes as well. So, again, very, very close primary. And really, it seems like, at least with just this 1% margin in, she is up big time with about 9,541 votes in, whatever it is. Yeah, so I do want to get you a little bit more background on this Cori Bush story, because I think the guy he's challenging, William Lacey Clay Jr., again, he has been huge for the area of St. Louis, held that seat for years. His father held it for years before him. And it really is, he's pretty much the typical Democrat, really, I would say. And he's done some pretty interesting things, including clashing with the Obama administration over a key Wall Street reform rule that's sent to reemerge as a flashpoint. It did, really, in the final weeks of the St. Louis congressman's fight for 11th term, courtesy of a six-figure ad buy from an anti-monopoly group. So that's what a big dynamic that took place is Clay is locked in a rematch with a nurse and Black Lives Matter leader Cori Bush, a would-be member of the so-called Squad, who lost in the 2018 Democratic primary to Clay by a 20-point margin. In 2009, the Obama administration is working with Congress to rewrite the rules of the financial economy to strip out the predatory behavior that helped fuel the financial crisis. The Department of Labor zeroed in on what became known as the fiduciary rule. Simply put, there was no rule that requiring that financial advisors had the best interests of their clients at heart when making investment decisions or recommendations, the best interest keyword there, of their clients. Instead, advisors could offer clients high-fee, low-performing investments that would do more to benefit the advisor than the client. A problem that particularly played workers at the lower end of the income scale, given their reduced power in relation to advisors who are generally chosen for them by their employers. So they were pretty much just stuck with a kind of crappy guy who didn't have their best interest at heart and were oftentimes screwed out of a lot of dough because of it. And yeah, so the Obama administration actually proposed a rule that would require financial advisors to have the best interest of lobbyists of their clients in mind, the so-called fiduciary rule. Lobbyists of the investment industry immediately began an assault from all sides on the proposed rule, leading a drawn-out 6-year battle. Central to that strategy was allying with key Democrats on the House Financial Services Committee, who could give kind of a bipartisan loss to the effort. Clay, as a senior member of that committee, played a leading role in the effort. In return, he was flooded with campaign cash from donors in the investment industry, many of whom hadn't given to his campaign previously. So pretty much what we call that in the industry is getting what you paid for, called good old-fashioned ROI. So yeah, that is how you get ROI there. And he finally is getting a little bit of pushback for it because of this anti-monopoly group that's joined in to defeat him and help Cori Bush in this effort. And he started running an ad, a really anti-corruption ad, running against Representative William Lacey Clay. So his work on behalf of the financial industry, again, kind of funny there, on behalf of said industry, came amid a battle within. Oh, here it is.
Effort to protect working families' retirement savings. When predatory Wall Street firms needed a favor, they turned to Congressman William Lacey Clay. Clay opposed President Obama's effort to protect working families' retirement savings from greedy financiers, instead joining with Wall Street. What did Clay get for opposing Obama and siding with Trump? Tens of thousands of dollars in campaign contributions. Corporate power is corrupting democracy, and William Lacey Clay is part of the problem. Fight Corporate Monopolies is responsible for the content of this ad.
I think that's a great ad, very, very effective ad, and also like just vague enough, just like simplistic enough to really get people, I think, worked up and like passionate. Be like, wait a minute, what is this guy? Like it points. It's like, it's not like it's wrong. It's not like it's being dishonest really in any way, but it really does show you, I think, in a very big way, a pretty accurate case of the scenario. But yeah, so we are also looking at, I do want to play this. Ryan Grimm today was on Rising on the Hill. And I really want to find the clip because he did a great preview, I think, of this upcoming race that we're looking at here. And it is, I think, very, very interesting. I do want to get to play that because it is really, I think he like kind of just puts it in a great way. And I do want to about Cori Bush and yeah, here we go. So this should be it. Here, we'll play that. We'll have that for you.
It's primary day.
In just a moment. Yeah, so he appeared on Rising and was kind of talking about Cori Bush and other major primary races. I pretty much consider Ryan Grimm to be just one of the better experts on all this stuff, even though we have a guest coming on very shortly who does not approve of Ryan Grimm. But we're going to play him anyway before James Stanley gets here. So
play for a St. Louis congressional seat, and then also Beth Dolio, who's a progressive backed by both Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, and also the Congressional Progressive Caucus, which has spent a lot of money to try to help her win a competitive primary. That's a particularly interesting race for kind of the mainstream Democratic caucus, because it's similar to the Mondaire Jones situation in suburban New York, where in a typical year, well, it's gotten incredibly ugly in St. Louis with the Lacey Clay Cori Bush ad. Lacey Clay Jr. and his father have held that seat, will be for I think 52 years. If he wins re-election, though they are a dynasty in St. Louis, and they are not going to loosen their grip on that seat gently. He recently sent around a mailer that kind of darkened Cori Bush's face and put her next to an image of Linda Sarsour, and said that that Cori Bush stands with BDS and against Israel, and if you elect a vote for Cori Bush, is a vote against Israel.
Yeah, so that's a little bit of an example. Intercept reporter, bureau chief from Washington, D.C., Ryan Grimm there, talking about what has been done by really to kind of respond to things like that anti-monopoly ad that Bush that was spent by that PAC on behalf of Bush, kind of responding to some of the negative press, and really taking this primary incredibly seriously. Lacey Clay is with that really insane, frankly, mailer that he put out, pretty much comparing scary black lady Cori Bush to scary Muslim lady Linda Sarsour, pretty much saying like, oh, she's different. She's an outsider. Because while Lacey Clay obviously is an African American as well, he's often said, but like he's often really made himself more at home as someone who's like kind of been deeply part of Washington, deeply part of the way the system works, and he pretty much the point he's trying to make to a lot of his constituents, I think, is the true fact that like, yeah, I'm here for you, and kind of the same way that we saw Elliot Engel do it a few weeks or around a month ago now in New York, was that, yeah, we're here. I'm here for you. I've been representing you in Washington all this time. You want your same guy. You want your same incumbent in Washington. That incumbency advantage could be a really big thing, but I think it's really hard to overstate the amount of really aggression that's come out in both sides in this campaign as things have heated up during the final weeks. James Stanley, who is just joining us. Thank you, James, so much for joining us. Really, really appreciate it on a night like tonight where you have so much stuff going